Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm your host, Linz Piper Loomis with I Am Silent No More. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for your support. As you can see, I have moved away from Patriot TV, so I'll be dropping all those previous episodes in my Rumble as well as the audio podcast. I am also excited about what I'm going to be sharing with you today. I'm really passionate about bringing you the truth and talking about some things that are serious. So if you want to support me where I'm at, by the way, guys, and this is just me being, I guess, working out the kinks. Make sure you also go to X American News. That's the primary spot where I'm going to be, and I'll also have my stream available on my own X account as well as my Rumble account. You can go to my website, lynz.co, and catch all of those previous episodes. Thank you so much. I also want to give a shout out to Ifani. Ifani is America's most secure mobile network. I've been with them for over a year. My entire family has moved over. So if you're concerned about SIM swap, different things like that, they're an incredible program. I've interviewed them. I'll be uploading the most recent interview here soon, so you can catch them as well. ifani.com/Linz. Best quality ever. So we're going to actually head into this video that's playing, and I'll continue on with it's kind of a continuation of what we talked about earlier in the week with last week's episode.
Exasperate divisions. Hate crimes cause reverse discrimination, assaults black man over black man who assaults a white man, whatever. Over 50% of the hate crimes that occur in the United States have nothing to do with black versus white, white versus black. They have to do with crimes against members of the Jewish religion. So if we want to be on the record as saying that we support or don't support hate crimes legislation, y'all can do that.
All right, so this is South Carolina Representative Chris Murphy. I have been railroading him for quite some time for a number of reasons. As you learned previously, and I've been posting about this, if you follow me on X, you know who this douchebag is. But he is working with CARE, Council on American Islamic Relations, on this hate crimes bill. And he defends this bill by saying it's good for Israel. The problem is the people that are helping him with this legislation are terrorist-founded and funded organizations. So much so, if you go back to my previous episode, it's really only like 20 or 30 minutes. You'll find out the connection there. This guy is crazy. He's working. He and a majority of the Republicans, except for the Freedom Caucus, actually passed this hate crimes bill, sent it over to the Senate side. Senate's doing an amendment. And of course, all the Democrats voted for it. They're sending it back. And then we hope it doesn't pass. We're hoping we put enough pressure on them that they will not support working with terrorists on this. I mean, I said before that there was a gentleman, former Representative Alan Clemens, that was trying to get this shut down. In 2018, he brought a resolution to the South Carolina State House Judiciary Committee that would have directed law enforcement and other entities to stop working with CARE because they said this is a Hamas-founded, funded organization. They hate Israel. So he's literally sitting here defending it. So people could say, oh, they're just trying to apply their support here. But the problem is that his track record with aligning with domestic terrorist groups like Black Lives Matter, being funded, donating, and endorsing individuals that align with those ideals is right there. So I wanted to show you that video because it makes absolutely no sense. This man is a threat to our constitutional republic, and he is a threat to the South Carolina Legislative House as well. So we're going to show you right here this information it's gonna pop up here in just a moment regarding his misuse of funds. I'm going to go a little bit deeper into this based on what I was talking about. Now, the original video has been archived because I was having trouble with my website before. So we archived the original video. We still have it. But I exposed Chris Murphy for giving $250,000 of our taxpayer money to a former divorce client, to an institution that actually doesn't have a brick and mortar. So you can go and catch that previous episode on my Rumble channel. This is what it's titled. And then I want to follow up now with the South Carolina Association for Justice. As recent as 2024, South Carolina Association for Justice donated to Representative Chris Murphy. And I'm going somewhere with this whole thing. The misuse of funds, we're going to come back to that in just a minute, but I'm going to show you how this guy plays games. So a South Carolina Association for Justice actually aligns with diversity, equity, inclusion. It aligns with the rhetoric regarding support for putting the police officers away for George Floyd. So if we can pull up that website, and I'm running through these really quick because I have a method to this whole thing. So we'll see that in just a second. So if you look here, South Carolina Association for Justice is all about more the liberal side of justice issues. Right here it says the fight for equal justice for all is the cornerstone on which our association was built. We hope that the tragic event of George Floyd can be transformative by ushering in the new substantive policies to help prevent more senseless deaths and brutality. We later actually heard that he was on drugs. He had a heart condition or something. I don't remember the exact thing. But he was already suffering from and dying from something. He didn't die from the police officer putting pressure down on his neck. And look, he was fighting against the police. When there is a threat there and someone cannot be, I guess, I don't know what the word would be, but basically restrained, then there are things that our law enforcement officers are taught in those situations to restrain those people. It's not their fault that he consumed lethal doses of drugs before he went into this, which probably contributed to why he was acting so crazy. But anyways, Chris Murphy has a history of supporting and aligning with these terrorist type entities and policies. So in this next piece that we're going to show you, I'm showing you the breakdown of his support, where he is donating to Democrats, and then he's also supporting Democrats in, it's called thank you for the money suckers on my website, or thank you for the free money suckers. But basically, Chris Murphy is supporting and funding Democrats that have affiliations to the terrorist group Black Lives Matter, Al Sharpton, National Action Network. So he not only endorsed Reggie Burgess for the North Charleston city mayor. During that time, there was actually a conservative, a Black conservative running for that seat, Dr. Curtis Merriweather. And he's a staunch Christian conservative. So he had the opportunity actually to make sure that we didn't have these terrorist policies coming into our local government. But instead, not only did he endorse him, but he actually gave him money. And Reggie Burgess has a history of working with Black Lives Matter groups. And in this article, it's all described. All the receipts are there. So you can go to my website, lins.co, and go to the drop-down menu and select news. And then you'll see this article. But he's aligning with Al Sharpton by giving money and endorsing people. When you put as a legislator, when you put your name on somebody that you're endorsing, you're saying, I agree and I align with all of their policies and I support this. So this was a massive find for us. There's a lot of other things that are happening inside of this article. And I'm going in my head as I'm talking to you. I'm going through all of the receipts as we're going through here. So I'm thankful for your patience as well as the patience of the producer that's helping me with this. She's amazing. So that is a massive issue where he is putting his money and what he is doing. The reason this is an issue is because going back to that $250,000, he didn't just give $250,000 to a former divorce client, which I show you the court docket, I show you all of that information, I show you the contract, I show you the form he signed off on. What's interesting that we've seen is that on Iron Wolf Recovery, when they reported on their 990, the amount of money or the addresses change based on the different filings. So and when we brought this story out to the front, let me also just say that Maggie Tolucci took a step back from what she was doing. She actually blamed, she's been running her mouth around town, blaming the Freedom Caucus, saying that she had, that they said that she had a sexual relationship with Chris Murphy. Nobody's ever said that. We said there was an established relationship legally, that she was a former divorce client. Or Chris Murphy represented her in her divorce to Mr. Tolucci. So no one's saying that. And I do have another video. We'll show a tweet in a second, maybe if I can remember the name of it. But it's to clear their name, Jordan Pace, and you can go to my X and you can type in I don't remember what you type in, but anyways, it's on my X account. And Jordan Pace is actually standing behind the speaker lectern at a press conference, and we're not going to play the video, but basically he says this is a misuse of funds and there's no accountability here. There's none. There's absolutely none. And the only recourse we have is to file a complaint with South Carolina Department of Health and Human Services. I just saw that today, that we can file a complaint there. She doesn't have a brick and mortar location. She has worked events with people who are hosting, potentially hosting drinking events, and then they change their mind later after we expose it and say, oh no, they're mocktails, they're not cocktails. She's hosted events where, she's doing really borderline satanic events with kids, with Reiki and some other things. I'm just not a huge supporter, but the point is, when we started talking about this, she started pulling herself back from the organization. Now she's not the no longer listed as the president. It's Courtney, I think her name is Courtney King, and you don't see her bio on the website anymore. And what's interesting is she's allegedly having all these free gym classes for people for rehab. It's a rehab method, I guess, for people who have substance use disorders, which Chris Murphy, by the way, has a substance use disorder of drinking, alcoholism. He was removed as head of Judiciary Committee and went to rehab. He put this out publicly. His wife was up for an elective South Carolina Supreme Court seat. She stepped down. But recently they just moved her up to the appellate court and elected her there. But anyways, so sorry, guys. This person does not have the frame of mind to be making decisions. He's biased, and it's a poor investment of our dollars, especially when she didn't have all of these classes listed, and then we outed her and all of a sudden the calendar was filled up. I even have an article, which we're not going to show you today, but it's not too far from this article, where a gym owner actually denounced her, from former gym owner of Foxton, joint owner, the wife. I believe she was cheated on with by her husband, with Maggie Tolucci. And I'm pretty sure I put the private investigation report inside of there. So this is the type of misuse of our dollars. It's not a good use. But now let me move forward. There was another misuse of dollars, $250,000. and we'll bring up this article that was given over to the Public Works Art Center in Somerville, which, you know, there's different exhibits that are hosted there, but this one particularly hosted some really crazy stuff. It actually hosted a huge exhibit that was about summoning demons, and they were the artist was hosting rituals inside of this building that was teaching children how to summon demons. She called them demons. Now, this is where the old safe was in the building, and this is an altar that is erected to the Morgan deity, and it's the deity of death, war, and fate, or something like that. There was actual, and in here in this article, you can actually click on the link, and it'll actually show you a video of the entire exhibit. But there was images of children being sacrificed. This entity is holding a baby with blood that is down in this bowl that's holding that blood. This is not stuff that our taxpayer dollars should be going to. I think we could agree. And when I came forward about this, that was moved out. And then the next exhibit was about joy. So we give God the glory on that one. So I think we have to be mindful of what we're spending our money on. The next thing we're going to show you is this recent Facebook post from Chris Murphy. And in this post, I'm just going to kind of read through it. It says, as a subcommittee chairman for the House Ways and Means Committee, my primary focus so far this year has been crafting this year's state budget. We carefully review budget requests from various departments to ensure responsible stewardship of taxpayer dollars beyond the budget. So here you see this. Do you think this man can steward our taxpayer dollars when he's given $500,000 to two things that it's not worth it? Let me tell you something. This is what I'm going to share with you, and I actually took notes on what I was going to share with you because I think that's important. But hang on, guys, I'm going to share this with you. This guy doesn't need to be anywhere near our budgets. He definitely does not need to be our legislator. If he can't get his act together on these funds, we've got major issues. So what I want to share with you is this. The question of who truly engaged in fraudulent activities is very pertinent here. I'm looking at my notes, guys, because I want to make sure I stick to this. Chris Murphy exhibits considerable audacity in claiming to investigate fraud, particularly when he himself appears to have perpetrated it by financially benefiting one of his clients. He allocated $250,000 of taxpayer funds to a nonprofit that failed to utilize these resources for its intended growth. And you can do that based off of their records. Everything is open. It's open source, but it's all public record. So if you go back to that video, you'll see everything. $250,000, $184,000 of that was supposed to go to salaries, and the remainder to operationals. That is poor management of funds. But what ended up happening was somehow they magically decreased the amount of money they were taking for their salaries, and they have a whole bunch of money left over. And I don't know if there's a limit on money. They say they have a bunch of money left over. I don't know. But we're waiting for the next 990 to be filed. Furthermore, an examination of the nonprofit reveals that Margaret Tolucci has distanced herself from her own organization, and she's now operating a boutique fitness instruction business called Wild Indigo Wellness. Which was, the question is, was this started with taxpayer money? If you look up the business on the state of South Carolina, she changed the name when she applied for appropriations. Notably, there remains no physical establishment for Iron Wolf Recovery. I have reason to believe that Chris Murphy should be under investigation of why he still to this day has not answered to us taxpayers why he gave $250,000 to one of his clients, a fitness instructor that didn't grow the nonprofit that she promised to do. Chris Murphy is currently developing a budget for this year, as I just shared with you. It is essential for us to examine his financials, particularly those related to his foundations. Are his clients being provided with opportunities to enrich themselves and evade accountability? In this case, I would say yes. Chris Murphy is calling for accountability. However, it raises the question of why he's not accountable for his own actions. As taxpayers, we must insist that he provides transparency regarding the funds allocated for Iron Wolf recovery, including how those resources were utilized. And I'm repeating a little bit of what I'm saying because I really want to get this point across. So why was a nonprofit funded without a physical location, particularly given that she was a client during her divorce? This nonprofit organization has remaining funds and has not yet disclosed how these funds have been utilized. There's an excess of $100,000. So after we outed this, they changed the $184,000 in salary to significantly less. And there's no documentation that's been provided regarding the allocation of these financial resources. So again, I repeated a couple of points, but I wanted to make sure that we're asking these hard questions. I think it's very important. So Chris Murphy should not be in office. One, he's missed over. He's had over 3,000 missed votes. So we really need to take a look at what he's investing in and why he's partnering with terrorist-founded and funded organizations on legislation. And we'll come right back after the break.
Well, hello everybody. It's Annie Cyrus. Welcome to my art studio where all the magic happens. This is the station for painting, and that is the station for all the resin art I do. If you want to check out my art, all you gotta do is go to lutfstudio.com. Finish this painting, but I'm sure, or at least I hope, I'll see you at lutfstudio.com.
Hey guys, welcome back. I'm so thankful that you're here with me today. Listen, I would love for you to go to lutfstudio.com and take a look at some of the artwork that you see there. If you see something that you like, put in the code LYNZ, L-Y-N-Z, and you'll receive 10% off. So this week, you guys know I've been hammering Alan Wilson. There's a video that I've uploaded to my Rumble exposing his protection of pedophiles, and now we know rapists, and just it's sickening when I think that this is the AG that's in office. Now, I will tell you, he's planning on running for South Carolina governor. And I have not announced my endorsement for who I will support for governor because not everyone has thrown their name in. But any of the people on the Republican side that want to use anything I have for oppositional research, please be my guest. One candidate, press secretary, told me it was a gold mine. The reason being is that we've been going back over 2 years. And it's interesting that when I started talking about the D rating from Shared Hope International, all of a sudden, Alan Wilson's putting in his most recent human trafficking report, the update, that he's looking to do some work with Shared Hope International. I think actually he wants to offer his services based on my understanding of what I was reading. I could be wrong, but that is scary. So Shared Hope International needs to know not to work with this clown. So what ended up happening was, and I'm not going to go back through this because there's already a previous video. It's not uploaded as of today with this live video, but it will be uploaded in the next 48 hours. I've been moving, like I said, all of my previous episodes over so you can catch those. But this guy met with, his office met with our team. It took forever to get a meeting. And the founder of Judges Rescue went with me because we had multiple case scenarios where we didn't mention names or specific locations, but we said, this is going on, this is going on, this is going on. And they assured us that they would follow up with us and that they wanted more information, evidence of what we were talking about. And we said, great, happy to, give that. As we were walking out, actually through security, I spoke to his right-hand wingman, and we said, look, we have enough information that we can give you, that's important. But right after that, Alan Wilson came out with a public statement saying they don't condone vigilante services. Look, no one in our team is going and blowing down doors with guns or anything. In fact, I was trained completely the opposite through the Association of the Recovery of Children. The training is 6 days. I went to my first one in Arizona, and then I co-hosted a 6-day training in South Carolina where these clowns were invited to attend. But they tried to get us shut down. Instead, they worked with some other entities to shut down the training, but it didn't work. I'm not saying Alan Wilson himself specifically said we're trying to shut this down, but the deep state was trying to shut down this training. And it's interesting that the budget, there was an increase asked in, there was an ask for an increase in the budget for the Human Trafficking Task Force. For one example was a social media position for $75,000. But ever since they started tracking their numbers, they're just continuing to climb. And so if you go to Shared Hope International and you look at why South Carolina has a D rating, you'll see it's in the areas where the AG is responsible, at least if I'm understanding it correctly. So part of it is legislation, but part of it is going after these perps. So recently in December, Alex Rosen, and you can find him on X at I Fight for Kids, and he goes around the country hunting down pedophiles. They set up profiles where it could be a child, male or female, whatever age, and they end up printing off the evidence, and then they meet the perp as if the perp was going to meet the child in person. And in the cases that Alex said, I think he said that he has hunted like 700 to 800. And of those, I can't remember the number he quoted of how many people were actually turned in. In a lot of cases, Alex has shared that these guys are like, take me in, because the evidence is so overwhelming. They'll call the police. Well, when he came to South Carolina, there was one guy that was busted in a sex trafficking ring in Georgia and came over to South Carolina because we are hospitable to these clowns, these perps. And Alex actually caught him, didn't catch him, but, engaged with him. And there was the digital evidence. And so when he called, and there was multiple people he confronted, pedophiles that he confronted and hunted in South Carolina. And what ended up happening was that when this would happen, they would not get arrested. There was calls, and there is one video from Spartanburg PD where they call the AG's office asking the AG if they can take the evidence and lock him up. And he says no on all accounts. So from what I understand, and I don't know if if this is their code that they live by or if there's an actual law in place, I'm still researching it. But there is a protocol, I can at least say that if there is anything with child trafficking or involving children, allegedly it's supposed to go straight to the AG's office. Now, back to the report with Shared Hope International, this guy has a low prosecution rate. He has a high rate of allowing these people back out on the street and giving them plea bargains. Perfect. There's actually another thing which I did not give to the producer, and you can actually Google it. Palmetto State Watch actually put out the article, so you can go to Palmetto State Watch. I think it's .org. It might be .com. They actually reported on this. But there was a guy with the last name Knapp. He's actually Howard Knapp. He is the head of the South Carolina Election Commission. He is appointed by Governor Henry McMaster. And back in earlier, some years, like a few years ago, he actually was listed, and he's still listed on the South Carolina Attorney General's post that was on Facebook, that he was booked on sex crimes against children. And I don't remember which sex crimes against children, if it was child pornography or whatever. But after that, everything disappeared for him. Everything just disappeared out of that entire group. And he was appointed to the elected position he's at now. Not elected, I'm sorry, appointed position that he's at now. And now he's under investigation for something else. So why was this man not prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law? There was another case about a guy that the DOJ actually caught, and he was on an ankle monitor and was actually able to leave South Carolina, go out to Arizona and get a young minor. I think she was 12 or 13, and get her back across the country. This person was let go and to some capacity. I don't remember it. Again, this was also reported on at the local level. Another one was this guy with the last name Bourne from Keller, Texas. He had over 35 sex crimes against children assessed to him. And Alan Wilson was actually on the case, like his office. And the judge on this case was Judge Bentley Price, which we know that guy is now no longer on the bench. But what happened was all but 3 charges were dropped by Alan Wilson's office, and he was given a plea bargain and time served. The judge gave him time served, which was about 6 to 8 months. So all of these situations I'm giving you is protection of sex crime, is protection of pedophiles. Who is Alan in bed with financially or behind the scenes? Like who did he make a deal with? Obviously the devil. So then I'm leading up to what I'm going to share with you guys. So then I was reaching out a couple years ago about this drag show that was traveling around the country, and in every single state, there was video footage coming up and going viral on X of these sick, perverted men that were either they had breasts that were totally exposed, whether they were prosthetic or not, I don't care, but dancing in front of young children. It's illegal to take your kid to the strip club. It's illegal to film your child in pornography, and it's illegal to watch it. So it's illegal. And in this process, there were many reports in multiple states where kids were giving tips to these men in their buttholes. That's sick. So this event was hosted at the North Charleston Coliseum, which is our taxpayer dollars. It's owned by, I guess, the people that run it is North Charleston County government. So we called the mayor. We did everything we could to shut it down, but we didn't. And when I later confronted actually Chris Murphy's best friend in the AG's office by his own record, that's what he told me, record, he said Matthew Gates, and it's actually on the audio. I've recorded it. He actually, I confronted him on this, and he actually used the word consensual and children in the same sentence. These people don't know their behind, their taillights from their head. It's incredibly sickening. So I've been going against him for so long. And again, I've been trying to get a follow-up on our meeting that we had. And basically, we're just supposed to trust law enforcement and the government to take care of our kids. But when I was running for office in 2021, Alan Wilson was speaking at a Charleston meeting. And he said, when someone asked him about illegal aliens being inside of our area, he's like, I'm not aware of any illegal immigrants being in our area. There was like at least half a dozen of us that jumped up out of our chairs, and because he realized what he said, and he ran out of the room like not long after he finished and was going, handing me his card. He's like, call me. I'm like, I just got back from the border. And so I spent 5 minutes telling him about the rape trees, telling him about the kids being drugged, telling about Catholic charities trafficking these kids through CPS. And so I also brought that up in the meeting. And now just at this thing that we're about to play for you, he just went to the border like recently. And because he's running for governor, this is all political theater to me. He's accusing. So what ended up happening was Nancy Mace came forward, and I believe her. I know she's telling the truth. That she reached out to the parties that be to get this whole thing investigated. She found out that she was a victim of rape, of being drugged and raped, as well as other people, to include a minor, her ex-fiance and his 3 business associates in South Carolina. And she did state that they have, with their businesses, they're receiving state and federal funds through some kind of contracting. And I know that, there's one investigation open with SLED, but let me tell you something about the state South Carolina Law Enforcement Division. There was a police officer that on the Ring camera beat the crap out of his 11-year-old son, and they dropped the charges. They dropped the charges. Crazy, right? And then there was another situation where a dog, and this was in Dorchester County. I've sent a FOIA request for this. A dog was actually left in a hot car, turned off 90 degrees. The handler said I think he said he forgot about the dog, and the dog died. That canine is actually considered law enforcement. They serve, right? I have a Belgian Malinois. She's amazing. She's being trained to help find missing kids. So can you believe that someone would just leave their dog in the car and just forget about it? This is the handler. These dogs, these Belgians, they do not let you forget about them. They have to be with their person, right? And the guy was demoted but not fired. So if SLED can't handle those types of investigations, how do we know that they're not handling all these other investigations? There's that particular case was put underneath the Public Integrity Unit and was taken to the 14th District Solicitor Duffy Stone down in Beaufort, and to the 1st District Solicitor in Dorchester County, which is David Pasco. So did SLED say we don't recommend an investigation? We don't recommend any charges being brought? It's really sickening. We just found out that the report was finalized, or the investigation was done as of January of this year. So, and it's the same sheriff, by the way, that was just elected. That's a story for another day. But anyways, I want to play this audio, and then we're going to break it down. So you're going to continue to see me, but you're going to hear this audio. This is from the Dorchester County Republican Party meeting that was Thursday night. It was a social. Alan Wilson was speaking. Now, this is Stephen Wright, the same one that mocked me as a child sex slave on X. It's pinned on my profile. So yeah, take a listen to this.
Mr. Attorney General, Lindsay Piper Lucas would like to ask you a question.
There's some people back in the left corner, too.
I'll be respectful. Thank you so much for coming tonight.
Yes,
so,
ma'am.
2 things. My question is going to follow up. You have a D rating with Shared Hope International. Human trafficking in South Carolina has increased over 400% underneath your leadership. Judges Rescue and I came to your office last year with multiple cases, including border and undocumented minors that have been trafficked through CPS in our state, multiple other cases. You said in your office that you guys would follow up, and you've never followed up. So when are we going to see accountability in these areas?
So there's a lot to unpack in that statement. You said human trafficking has increased 400%.
Over 400% according to your own record.
Let's take a break for just a second. So a couple of things I want you to notice. So Stephen Wright is announcing who I am, and he didn't do that with anyone else. And well, actually, Ray Walsh was the one taking the microphones around, but he intelligently handed the microphone over to Stephen to come and do that, because Ray Walsh was one of the, he was the man that followed me out to my car in the dark, stood toe to toe with me, and didn't like that I was holding Stephen publicly accountable. And he politically threatened me. He said that he had enough influence across the district to stop any future campaigns or political or initiatives that I would have, which is anti-trafficking. But anyways, so the fact that he announced who I was to Alan Wilson, and then did you hear Alan Wilson? He said, "Oh, I think there's some others over there in the on the other side that had questions." So he was trying to actually avoid me asking him a question because he knows I'm holding him accountable. What's interesting is, had he taken those questions from the other side, those were people from Mace's camp. So either way, he was screwed because he was going to be held publicly accountable. Then the other piece of this is, I want you to notice that he does not actually answer the question. And he's so full of crap, but we'll go back and let him finish listening to the audio.
Let's unpack this. Let's start with that number. There's a couple things. What do you think human trafficking records were 12 years ago? What was the percentage of human trafficking?
We weren't talking about 12 years ago.
I know.
I'll tell you what it was. We didn't know because there was no task force for tracking. Okay, it's like if we take all.
We're not talking about 12 years ago,
See,
sir.
you hear other people speaking up, and also, so there was another person sitting. Sorry, guys, I said we were going to stop it. There was another actually woman sitting at my desk. I'm sorry, at my table, and she actually works in anti-trafficking as well. And I mean, she's kick butt in this area. So anyway, so she is actually starting to speak up. There was people just baffled, but anyways, we'll go ahead.
So if you take all the police off the road, are there going to be any traffic violations? No, because no one's out there catching it or seeing it or observing it. If you put police back on the road, you're going to see an entire spike of traffic citations. Why? Because there are no police out there.
Okay, let's pause here.
Does that mean there's more people?
Number one, this is a dumb reference for what he's trying to say. He's so full of crap. If I had other language, I would say it, and but I'm not going to. He is full of crap. But do you think that if you don't have police officers on the road, that crime's not going to increase anyways? Because guess what? There's no police officers. There's no accountability. There's no balance in the scale. So the fact that he's using this as a reference makes absolutely no sense. So of course there's going to be a spike when you put police officers out there, because when there's no law and order, crime is going to increase. That was dumb.
Speeding and driving recklessly, or there's just more people out there seeing it? There's two things that have happened in the last couple of years. We've expanded the definition of human trafficking to include exploitation crimes and labor trafficking crimes. So we expanded the definition to encompass more crimes to be counted. So that's the cost to go up. Also, we have doubled down on our public awareness campaigns to try to get more people to talk about human trafficking and try to actually have traffic.
So let's talk about that public awareness campaign. I actually broke this down in another video. The public awareness campaign, and this is from his own mouth, was to increase police presence on the roads in order that they could catch more of these people. And if you don't have people trained properly, which we invited them to that training, this organization, ARC, Association for the Recovery of Children, has 100% rescue rate of American children for 30 years. They're one of the oldest rescue organizations in the country. 100% rescue rate. I think they know what they're talking about. And then the public awareness was to put bilingual material in bathrooms and in different areas. When I was trafficked, I was actually put on a plane from the middle of the country to the East Coast. And at that time, because I was so scared, had I actually seen something on the bathroom wall, I didn't have money to go put into a payphone. I didn't have anyone to ask to go and call. And I was too scared to do anything in front of anyone. So the public awareness campaign, while it might helping to educate the kids in the schools and things like that, that is good. But to sit here and say that you're going to put out more material in these areas, I'm sorry, but someone who's being thrown in a trunk, someone who's being trafficked through Child Protective Services, where a majority, I would say probably a majority of the trafficking is happening, is through those entities. They're not going to just pick up the phone and say I'm being trafficked, because they've been groomed, they've been broken, they've been oppressed. So there has to be a different way to deal with this. It's not working for him because his numbers are skyrocketing. And they found in one of the reports that was released that over 96% of the, I think it was 96% over, and I know over 90% of the cases were children, and it was all through online, like Instagram and these social media apps. So that being said, we have to change. Putting police presence out on the road is not going to change how these kids are being affected online. We need to shut down the dark web. We need to make it illegal. We need to have a death penalty for these people. And if they're illegal aliens, they don't have the same rights as we do as American citizens. If they have violently raped someone, put them before the shooting squad. I'll offer them Jesus first, but they don't have the same rights. You come over to our country illegally and you start raping our children, harvesting organs, selling blood, doing God knows what, and all these other things that are happening. No, you don't get to go back home. I'm not going to deport you. Let's just give you the death penalty. You don't get to stand a fair trial because you didn't come here legally. You're not an American citizen. You abdicated your human rights when you violated the human rights of someone else. So anyway, increasing police presence there is not going to help. Plus, they are basing their numbers a majority of the time on the calls that they receive from the human trafficking hotline. So there has been some speculation that the human trafficking hotline is connected to the Clinton Foundation, but there's someone on the other line of that call that when someone does call in a victim, they're screening that call to decide if this is legit or not based on their own training or lack thereof. And then by the time it gets turned over, it can be up to 48 hours, sometimes even greater. Where do you think that child is? Do you think increasing police presence on the road and public awareness through putting things in the bathrooms is going to help? No. So let's finish listening to this, and I'll break down the rest.
The model is developed that the State Department of Education has now adopted and is putting in all the schools. It's age appropriate. So the way you talk to a first grader about human trafficking is very different than the way you talk to a senior about human trafficking. So we're raising awareness because an ounce of prevention is worth more than a pound of cure. I'd rather a kid know what it is to avoid it than never become a victim of it. So when people say there's an increase of 400%, that's a good thing because it was already happening. We just weren't catching it. And so we're now.
So we're going to stop it right here real quick. I just thought of something. So really picking this apart. Do you think that when I learned that, because I learned about anti-trafficking when I was in school 30 years ago, do you think that I could avoid that situation? No. A lot of these people are groomed. A lot of these people are it's familial or it's Child Protective Services. Do you think that they can avoid their attacker? Do you think when I was locked in and out of a dog cage for 3 years, I could avoid the people that were raping me? Do you think that when they drugged me after they had impregnated me, that I could avoid them and then they aborted the babies against my will and use them as satanic sacrifices? I'm just asking, like, how is that puts the burden in that particular statement on the victim. A child victim is going to be able to avoid. There might be some public awareness and education can help them see something, say something, but to be able to, when you get to that point where you're being trafficked, to say that you're going to be able to avoid it, that's really stupid.
You've got more data coming in. And so all law enforcement agencies, 46 counties, 16 circuits, you got 1,500 people on the task force, all working with local, state, and federal law enforcement. And they're out there, they're doing the work. So when people say that there's a 400% increase. That's not accurate.
It's on your
That
own
is
record.
absolutely
That's
accurate.
your
That's
record,
my
and you
All right,
are
we'll
letting
do
them
another-
free.
One other question.
There's a 400% increase in the reports. That's what it is. So again, 12 years ago, it was 0% because there was no one reporting.
So you're going to get back to our team
Okay, we
win?
have one more question. Who would like to ask a question?
So see,
Exactly.
so did you catch what he said about the reporting? I don't know if we can go back and listen to that, but he basically denied that the reporting was true, but it's his own record. It's his own record. And the thing is that when your numbers are increasing every single time that you put out an annual report, and you're increasing your budget, you're increasing positions like social media, you're increasing these things, and you don't see a change, and you're have a low prosecution rate, you're letting people like back off on the streets that had over 35 sex crimes against children charges, and he dropped all but 3, gave them a plea bargain. Your numbers are increasing because of that, and it's not a good thing. So for him to say that that's a good thing, that is not a good thing. Mace's team played just that clip, and it's absolutely true that he said that it's a good thing. It's not a good thing. His example of what he said, he was completely asinine. And then he didn't even answer the question. So we have real live problems in South Carolina. And he's finally admitted that after this guy, Alex Rosen, came back in and met with him at the AG's office and said he admitted that there was no law that stated that civilians could not turn in evidence. They put it to the test, and I think one person has been arrested. So since this event last week, all of a sudden, Alan Wilson has put out 2 public press releases that 2 people were caught based on cyber tips. He knows he is failing. I would not want this man watching my dog, let alone washing my laundry. I don't trust him. How the heck he is still an AG in the state? Look, some of you might be friends with him, and oh my gosh, heavens to Betsy, he's a Republican. Well, he's not a good one. He's covering up sex crimes for children by low prosecution, letting these guys back out on the street. And obviously, what he's doing is not working. So I stand by what I said. I can't believe he said that it's a good thing that the numbers have increased 400% and then tried to deny that that was actually his report. It's his own report. I think the number is 450%. So the reason I put this out and came to you live today is this man does not deserve to be AG. I am demanding that he turn in his resignation. I'm sure he won't listen to me, but I would like for you to join the movement. Second of all, he's a liar. He's a bold-faced liar. So he shouldn't be running for governor either. So we've got to do something about this. Please join me, lyns.co, lynz.co. Subscribe to my newsletter. There is an opportunity for you that as this is playing on my own X, you can go up and give some money towards my investigations. I am involved in 2 or 3 investigations right now. So I have people that will give $25 every month. That helps pay gas. Every dollar counts. So if you want to go to my website, lyns.co, up in the upper right-hand corner, you can contribute. You can make a one-time contribution, or you can make a monthly contribution there. And I would be so thankful for your help. Stay tuned for more because I have a lot more on Alan Wilson. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you to my friends at X American News. Thank you to my producer, Annie. She rocks. She's the best ever. And thank you to all of you, because without you, I would not be able to do this. God bless you, and God bless America.